Hello, everybody, and welcome to Blue Jays Today, where your boys always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlock.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And today, guys, we got to bring to you the most disappointing Blue Jay players in the 2023 season. They're the guys, the reason why the Blue Jays aren't still playing right now in the postseason, guys. Before we get into it, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, if these guys actually put up this year, if they put up even to what they did last year, we would not be talking about it. We'd maybe be having a whole different conversation right now in the offseason. But because these guys didn't show up, and a lot of them didn't at the exact same time, this has been a very different Blue Jay team.
1,000%. And if these players are on the team in 2024, we need them to perform, man. We ride or die with these guys, and the expectations that we had for them walking into 2023, they just simply did not hit them. So big off seasons hopefully in store for these guys. Let's kick it off with a fan favorite, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Apparently the franchise player of these Toronto Blue Jays, not necessarily franchise player numbers coming from Guerrero.
Right. It basically looks like a guy that is supporting the franchise player, right? I mean, these numbers, I love to think about the Aaron Rodgers example that he always brought up, that like my down years are other people's best years, career years. And like, yeah, for an average player coming through the minor league system, if you throw up a 788 OPS and you hit 26 homers, my God, you are laughing your way to maybe potentially a payday one day. But Vladdy, he was not only guaranteed a payday, but he wanted to get the top dollar, and these aren't top dollar numbers. And if you look over at the Savant page, you can kind of see a slight difference from last year. And last year was a down year too, right? He had the 818 OPS, because you're comparing it to that 1.002, that elite franchise second MVP. Look at these numbers. Those are some red, solid lines. And when you look and you fast forward 2 years later, it's disappointing, and you need Guerrero to become the Guerrero of the past, or at least the Guerrero of our expectations, of our dreams, for this team to actually get carried and make it into a deep postseason run, man. You know what I mean?
No, 1,000%. Now, I will say about that Aaron Rodgers example, I love that quote as well from Aaron Rodgers. You know, my down years are other guys' career years. And the problem with that, when relating it to Guerrero, I'll say, is like, this isn't a down year anymore. And I think that's part of why this is so disappointing, is when you look at the entire body of work, out of the 5 years, one of them has been godlike. You know, like, you entered God tier mode in that one 2021 year. But I can't say that your, 264 batting average and 78 OPS is a down year now, because it's really close to all of the other seasons that you're having. So we need to see more from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We need to see him take that next step, have an incredible offseason, and show up in 2024. This Toronto Blue Jays team, we really do ride or die with Guerrero. One more thing about as to why I am disappointed as well with Vladdy is just the mentality, I think, from Guerrero. And I think this was a really important year for him to kind of get out of that I'm a young kid kind of mentality. It's like you saw it in the entire offseason where it's like, we're getting more serious, right? That was the entire narrative of the Toronto Blue Jays, was we're getting more serious. And I really wanted to see Guerrero take that next step as a leader. And I just don't think that you saw that. And when you're looking over right now, you're watching the Philadelphia Phillies, for instance, and you hear Bryce Harper talking up of his team and, it's the city and everything like that. There's just a different mentality, I feel.
I think what you're referring to is a guy who, and again, he's 24 last year. He's turning 25 this year. It's just a young guy still. He still hasn't learned what it's like to be a leader. Bryce Harper, he was once a young kid. He had down years. He had big boom years. He had that MVP year. I think it was 2015 where he had that MVP year. And he's becoming a solid leader. He's in his 31 year. Happy birthday, Bryce Harper. And he's really showing now that leader quality. We haven't seen that yet from Guerrero. And I'm willing to extend the rope on him as long as possible because he is a talented player.
Yeah.
He's got the goods. He's just got to mature a little bit. And what I saw from Bo Bichette this year, who, spoiler alert, not on this list.
No, of course not.
Because he showed maturity this year in his defense, most of his on-base skills and his offensive approach.
Yeah.
And that's what I need to see from Vladdy. Just show up, do your job, and let others around you see that as an example.
Well, and speaking of defense as well, we took a big step back from Guerrero, too.
Yeah.
Like, that's just another kind of like cherry on top of the entire situation. But Vladdy as a whole has to be better in 2024. I want to have a 2021 type offseason here where we're getting the highlights continuously rolling in, right? I still remember like him posting the videos, really pumping the iron. Like, we need to to see that again.
We do.
Second dude that we got to talk about here, really, it pains me to say this because this is actually my favorite Toronto Blue Jay, guys. It's Alejandro Kirk. Just not the season. Not the season from Kirk. And I do think that, I'm going to extend the leash a little bit for this guy right here, where it's like, we were dealing with some injuries in the first half of the season. I mean, like the kind of like inconsistencies of playing time. It's really hard to adjust. And I kept holding out hope that he was going to get back to where he was. And you saw little stretches. You saw like a 2-week span where it's like, oh, there he is.
Right.
There's Kirk. But it just felt like for whatever reason, he was just behind the 8 ball this entire season, trying to catch up and get into his approach, and it never really stuck.
I think that was his downfall right there. He was trying to replicate what he did last year. Same thing you see with Vladimir Guerrero, trying to replicate what he did in 2021. You saw him multiple times kind of near the end there when he was in those bad stretches where he was expanding the zone, chasing a lot of first pitches that were up and in. That's what the pitchers want him to do. Once you go out of your approach and you stop being patient, then they go, okay, well, it doesn't really matter if I throw it down the middle. I'm just going to throw it on the edge, and if I miss, he'll still swing. I'll be ahead. It's all good.
And we never used to see that from him.
Never. And that's why you see this has been the worst year for him so far.
Yeah.
The one positive, just to throw a little positivity into this video, his defense got a lot better.
It did, dude. It
did get a lot better. You see right here in the where is it right here? The fielding run value, 89. Actually, no, I think it did. Apparently it was better last year.
What the hell?
Field run value was better, but he's up for a Gold Glove this year.
Wow. Okay,
who knows? These advanced statistics, they're not really true to what
I don't fully trust these, to be completely honest. I did see, though, with my eyeball that he was getting a lot better defensively speaking, and he's up for a Gold Glove accordingly.
Right.
But I also saw, with my same eyeball, that the approach, what we do at the plate, it just wasn't there. And I do think he was, again, dealing with injuries, trying to get back into it, never really found it. I'm not necessarily super worried about Kirk, just because, that is truly a down year. It's like when we're talking about Guerrero, it's like we've seen it kind of time and time again, but that was really a down year. I think he'll bounce back.
And if I'm going to say the same argument for Vladdy, that he's 24, I'm going to say the same thing with Kirk. He's 24. He's still young, right? And one last one about the whole Gold Glove, because I know someone's going to comment like, well, Gold Gloves don't really mean anything because people get, it's like the compliment to the great offensive performance. He didn't have a great offensive performance, and he still got a Gold Glove nomination. So there you go.
Yeah, for real, man. No, that is strictly based on the defense from Kirk, and it was really good this season. So shout out to Kirk for that at least. Speaking of good defenders and just good defense, like that's what you bring to the table, and just only that. It's Dalton Varsho, man. Listen. Guys, I feel like this entire postseason run, just watching Arizona, watching Moreno, watching Lourdes Gurriel Jr., I am so happy for them, but they are just twisting the knife, man, like putting salt in the wound of this trade. My goodness gracious. 220 batting average, 674 OPS. We only had 20 home runs, 61 RBIs. This is not at all what I was hoping from Dalton Varsho, just not at all with the bat.
No, when I think about 2015, 2016, we had Ryan Goins playing second base. Great defender. Great, could have won a Gold Glove maybe if he kept playing if his bat kept him in the lineup for sure. But that's kind of how I'm seeing Dalton Varsho. Like, really doesn't provide any value with his bat. And you actually could see over here, folks, in 2023, literally batting run value, second percentile.
That's terrible.
That is one of the worst in Major League Baseball. And last year, you saw his bat actually provide some value. He had more pop. He hit for a higher clip.
Yeah.
So, if he just were to somewhat replicate even a 750 OPS, I mean, we were having ambitions of him hitting the 800 OPS because we thought he hit a bit more home runs. But if we can just get that last year paired with a great defense, then yes, okay, I will take that trade because that's what I was promised we weren't. So Dalton Varsho, that was just a vacant hole, especially in the beginning part of the year.
Yeah.
Even though we had our best stretch of baseball in April, he had one of his worst offensive stretches. I think he was kind of carried. We were kind of carried by Matt Chapman having his best stretch, but once Matt Chapman fell into the picture, Varsho continued to struggle, and that was just an easy out. For any rally that we had, 100%. It was an easy out. And he was in the middle part of that lineup for most of the year, so that's why our runner scoring position was so down. So he's really the downfall of that offense.
And I mean, honestly, like the just plate approach and like the eyeball, everything from him was just his timing. Literally anything that makes you a good baseball player when it comes, like offensively speaking, this dude just did not have it. Now I'm feeling positive in the sense that we've seen him do good things before, right? And it is very difficult coming to a completely new country, a completely new city. So I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt right there. But I saw next to the batting run value, if you go back to the batting run value of 2023, I'm pretty confident that it said -18.
Oh, yeah.
That's horrific. That is truly, truly horrific. So this guy was, even though he was saving us outs in the field, they were getting taken right back away when he went up to the plate. So this needs to be a lot better for Dalton Varsho. He's got to have one hell of an offseason.
Yeah, he does. He's really got to get to the cages, man. And look, it's your first year with the Toronto Blue Jays. We kind of made the same argument with Matt Chapman. He just didn't come through for the full season. I think you got to go to the cages with Bo Bichette. You know what I mean? Like, you know who went to the cages with Bo Bichette and turned his career around? Danny Jansen.
That's true.
That was about 2 years ago. He went to the cages, spent the offseason with Bo Bichette and Kevin Biggio, and different story there. But they were trying to learn each other's approaches. I think Dalton Varsho's got to go to the cages.
Yeah.
He's got to go to the cages and learn how to play better.
Dude, of course he needs to go to the cages. He has a 285 on base percentage. That's just not enough, man. Like, he's got to be better. And if you're going to be an integral part of this lineup, because when we first started the season, they had him batting what? Like fourth?
He was fourth.
Literally, like they wanted him to be part of this team moving forward. This was part of their plan. Dalton Varsho is going to blow up in Toronto because we lowered the left field wall, and it's like he's going to pop a bunch over there. That's got to happen, everybody. We still have this guy for several more seasons after this.
Two more. Same with Bo and Vlad.
Literally, he's got to get better.
Yeah, I agree, man. If we can get some sort of surprise from him next year, even just what he did in 2022. That would make the lineup so much more complete down at like 7-8.
I'll tell you right now, if he did what he did in 2022 this past season, we win, what, 92, 93 games?
Yeah.
Right? That's the difference of those home runs and those RBIs and everything like that, right? 2 to 3 more games. So Dalton Varsho, please hit the cages, get better this offseason.
Absolutely.
Somebody who needs to hit all of the everything. And I'm talking like, I'm talking everything, guys. Like literally, like whatever you have to do, gym, nutritionist, like somebody to talk to,
therapist.
Literally like everything.
Time for a quick shout out to Betway. Betway is the best place to make all of your sports bets on all of your favorite teams. Betway is also in collaboration with iGaming Ontario. Must be 19 years older to participate. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
It's Alec Monoa. This was the season from hell, everyone. This was the season from hell. When people tell you to, take the game and it's, we just got to throw that one out. That has never been more true for a season than what we saw from Alec Monoa in 2023. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
You know, it's funny. That's the exact same line I said in my upcoming video room that's going to be coming out tomorrow, folks. Everything that's gone wrong went wrong for Alec Monoa. Not even only just, and look at these numbers, first of all, not only just from a player performance standpoint, but a controversial player off the field. You had problems with the front office. And when you have problems with the front office, and that's going to raise some red flags. Now, apparently, Ross Atkins says everything's fine, and we're looking like we're going to get back on track. So, I'm not to give any spoilers, because I want you to check out my video. I'm coming out tomorrow. But if he's going to have any sort of career, it's got to happen next year. Like, am I expecting him to be back to Alec Monoa of old? Probably not. It's pretty hard to do that. But if he can give me a mid-3 ERA or even a low, like just below 4, that would mean be a bounce back. You kind of salvage your career for a little bit longer.
Dude, I'd say that if you can start and finish the season in the major leagues next year, that's a win.
Yeah, because if he's not in the major leagues next year, you're done.
Yeah,
done.
I do think that he's done, right? But he's just got to show up and be there and be with the team and show a little bit more of just like team mentality, right? In the first few seasons, it felt like that's what it was all about. It felt like he was for the team. And then you saw some of this stuff that came out, some of these bad news reports coming out about Alec Monoa, and that just was not the case at all, right? And you do need to take some of it with a grain of salt, because clearly we're hearing this from a third party, it's obviously, gone down the telephone line, right? So we don't know how much of it is true. but something's got to shift with Alec freaking Monoa.
You know, I'm going to give a perfect example of Vladdy in 2020. When he came into that season, he came in overweight. He came in out of shape. And what did he say after the season? He said literally the words, "I let my teammates down."
For real.
And then what did he do? He put in the work. Putting in the work on yourself to be ready physically, mentally is not only great for yourself, but you're doing it for your team. Because if you can show up and do what you're expected to do, your job, and be ready to perform at a high major league level, then other players need to come into the clubhouse before spring training ready to do their job physically and mentally too. So lead by example.
Yeah.
And he didn't lead by example last year. Good thing we have other supporting, starting pitchers that kind of took over the reins while he was out. It didn't really affect us on the ERA, the pitching side. But now it's time to take that back out.
Yeah.
Like if you want to help yourself and help the team.
And listen, dude, if you're not going to do it for the team, do it for yourself. Because after the first 2 seasons, dude, you were on track for a $200+ million contract.
He was on track
Now-
for Roy Halladay. Yeah.
That's how much I want to pay you right now. Literally a fat zero, right? So if you want to get back into the W column and start looking at a potential contract for yourself, come free agency or come extension time or whatever, you have got to put up next season.
He does, man. And now last Blue Jay, not necessarily a player, but the Blue Jays manager.
Yeah.
He was a little bit of a disappointment. You brought him up to me.
Yeah.
You wanted to include him in this video. Give your explanation.
No, I think it's very reasonable, right? Like John Schneider, when we saw him in the second half after he took over from Charlie Montoya, there was very high hopes, right?
Yeah.
There was very high hopes. He put up a stellar year with the team. The team played for him. It felt like he was really like cracking the whip down in a good way on the Toronto Blue Jays. It was like a stern and firm but respected manager, and it felt like he had a presence, and I felt like that presence that left him a lot this season, right? It really felt like the presence left him, and by the end of the year, we had no idea as Toronto Blue Jays fans if this was his decision or the analytics team or whoever the hell it was. Like, I didn't even know what he was doing for these Toronto Blue Jays. 89 wins is not enough for this team on paper for how much money that they're spending, and after we saw you put up such a stellar half with these Toronto Blue Jays, I expected there to be an additional jump, right? It's like, this is John Schneider's team that's coming out. And I'll tell you right now, if that was John Schneider's team that's coming out, I'm disappointed with the product.
Yeah, honestly, and we've been talking about it all offseason, it didn't look like John Schneider's team. We saw John Schneider's team last year, right? I mean,
I thought that's what I
thought that's what I saw, right? But then what I saw was other people getting their hands on the buttons.
Right.
And other people were controlling the ship other than John Schneider. He was kind of leading towards more the analytics kind of route. He was, and honestly, on his part, like, making some really weird calls. Like, do you want to, like the whole Jose Barrios thing.
Yes.
It's your call in the end of the day. Do you want to lean on analytics and take that? Yeah, sure. It's good information. A lot of the modern day baseball managers rely on analytics, but you also have to use your eyeballs. I've said this 1,000 times. I hope to God that next year, because he's got the job, it's out there, I hope to God we can see John Schneider take control of that button again, start controlling it the way he decides it, because no one was doing that when he was in Double-A.
Right.
No one was controlling that team when he went on to win the minor league championship back a few years ago with Vladdy and Bo. He's got to do that now in 2024.
Yeah, and I completely agree with all of that. And I'll also say that if he doesn't do it in 2024, that's it.
That's it.
It will be a done and dusted sort of situation.
Absolutely.
Right? The conversations were already happening after this season. They're saying that we're going to ride with him. If, for instance, a similar type of show plays out where it's like, we scrape into playoffs and then get swept in the wild card, it is done and dusted for John Schneider. So not only you're fighting for this team and your legacy, but you are, in fact, fighting for your job in this coming season. Right now, you are 0 for 4 as the manager of a team in the playoffs. I would want to change that if I was you. I would want to change that.
Yeah, man, I agree. Guys, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about these most disappointing players and staff members of the Toronto Blue Jays? If there's anyone we missed, let us know.
Yeah, also, guys, please hit the like and subscribe button. And $3 a month, become a Patreon member. Shout out and thank you to every single one of our current Patreon members and our YouTube members. All of you guys are freaking amazing.
Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And go Jays, go!